Dear chess friends, welcome to your Out of Chess channel and welcome to a truly remarkable gameplay by the latest version of Stockfish, the powerful Stockfish 16. Today we see the fish again battling it out with the black pieces against another top engine Torch in an amazing English opening, the so-called Agincourt defense. And in my opinion, the Agincourt defense is really one of the best methods to meet the first move by white, the move c4. Here I think you'll see great defensive ideas, great strategies, cool middle game tactics, but also brutal, beautiful, a spectacular endgame technique by the fish. In my opinion, you'll see really a rare case in endgames, really rare position for sure. Pay good attention, put your seatbelts on, enjoy here really a spectacular game again, played by Stockfish 16. So with the white pieces, the Torch engine played knight to f3. Stockfish response was d5, and now we have their transposition into the English opening with the move c4. My recommendation here is immediately to play the Agincourt defense with the move e6. In my opinion, this is simply the best way here to proceed. The Agincourt defense basically is leading in many lines into structures of the Queen's Gambit decline, because white is many times playing the move d4. Then you can of course play normal knight to f6 and similar stuff. If you are bothered maybe by the Queen's Gambit or Queen's Gambit decline, please check out my series also about the Queen's Gambit decline, where I've created more than 100 instructive videos about this types of structures. So here's the link of the video, please check it out. I think you can have a great preparation in these types of structures and also in these types of positions. So as I said, here if if white doesn't want to go into structures of the Queen's Gambit declined, then we can play immediately like Stockfish did here. Torch continuation was the move b3. Stockfish simply occupies now the center with the move d4. Says, okay, I have a space advantage, but of course Torch is trying immediately to break the space advantage with the move e3. Basically, the game transposes into structures of the reverse Benoni. If you're familiar with the Benoni defense, it's almost like we're playing now with the black pieces against the Benoni defense. So it's not the same, of course, but with similar ideas, with similar structures, with similar position, but also tactical ideas in the middle game stage. Stockfish supports, of course, the d4 pawn. We have now the move g3. You see, like in the Benoni, with the black pieces, white is also doing this. Fianchetto is getting use of this long diagonal of the light square bishop. Knight to c6 by the fish. We have bishop to g2 here by the Torch chess engine. What should you do? Knight to f6 and bishop to d6 are main lines. Here Stockfish continues with bishop to d6. We have e takes d4, c takes d4, and there are now 3 games that I see in the database that are won by black in this particular position. One is a drawish line, and many games are in the lead chess database also won by white. So it's really a dynamic position, but we have to say it, black has already gained here equality, has I think a solid position, and the main strategic goal is now to advance the pawn here somehow to e5, connecting now the main space advantage here in the center of the board. Kingside castling, knight to f6. We have d3 here by the Torch chess engine, castling by Stockfish, and now a rook to e1 by Torch. We have h6, not allowing to get pinned many times in these types of positions. Black or white in the reverse Benoni ideas is trying somehow to get rid of your knight on f6 and then play something like, I don't know, knight to d2 and then control further the e4 square or control further the c5 square. So that are the main issues here. You can also try knight to d2, then you're trying c5, and maybe you can also get your knight here on c4. But in order to make that happen, you want of course to get rid of this powerful defensive knight on f6. So good prophylactic move here by Stockfish 16. Bishop to a3. We have now the move e5 that we have talked about. Bishop takes d6, queen to d6, knight from b to d2 with the preparation to play knight to e4 anyway here by the Torch chess engine, and now rook to e8. We have a3, a5, not allowing of course this progressive move b4 here by white. If that happens, if black doesn't react correctly, white will eventually get this powerful queenside attack. We'll have 2 mobile pawns that could storm here on this side of the board. A4, a5, or a4 in this normal Benoni ideas I think are common moves here for sure. So queen to c2 with the preparation to play the move c5, knight to c4, and then maybe even knight to d6. So that's why queen to c5 was played by the fish, not allowing white to play now the move c5. Knight to e4. We have knight takes e4, rook to e4, and now bishop to f5. Stockfish battle simply for the e4 square. We have knight to d2. Interesting idea here by the Torch chess engine. What should you do? If you take I'm not saying this is a mistake or something. You will not probably immediately lose the game because you play bishop takes e4, but after knight takes e4, queen to e7, and c5, things are getting very, very messy here for white. The engine still loves black's position, but for a human eye, I think many of us would struggle against this position. Knight to d6 is coming. You cannot even play b6 in order somehow to battle against this pawn on c5, because the bishop, the light square bishop, is simply the most powerful piece on the board. Rook to b1 is going to happen, b4, b5. So, in my opinion, really an unpleasant game here for black for sure. So that's why from knight to d2, bishop to g6 was played by the fish. We have rook to e1, f5. We have queen to b2. We're preparing now finally to move b4, and now queen to f8. Rook from a to b1, preparing now b4 as promised. And my question here for you is, what would you do now in this particular position? We have now really a thematic idea now for black. Believe me or not, I played an hour ago a similar position, and I applied this pattern immediately in one of my games. It wasn't the same position, but it came out also out of the Agincourt defense. I played the same pattern and had a really, really good game because I played this move. Maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the best strategy here for black. What would you do now in this particular position? Okay, the best idea here is the stunning e4. This is the way they go. Look at this. Although this square is 3 times taken, we play this progressive move e4 in order to liberate our square e5 for the knight. And now, after d takes e4, we don't pick up, of course, the pawn now. We play a beautiful f4. That was the way to go here for Stockfish 16. Beautiful strategy. Now, the knight can, in some lines, come here on this very active square e5. If you take, of course, g takes f4, then queen to f4. Look at this. Your structure is messed up here in front of the king. So that's why here after move f4, what you do? You can, of course, also try knight to f3, but then with rook to d8, we're controlling everything. You're trying maybe e5, the rook is hanging. So now we will still get our goal, get a queen into the game. In some lines, maybe even trade off the bishop for a knight and then get this powerful knight here on e5. So it would be also, I think, a devastating position for white, because the light square bishop is simply now paralyzed in this particular line also here by its own pawn. So that's why after move f4, here b4 finally by the chess engine, and we have a takes b4, a takes b4, and now rook to d8. We have queen to b3. We have now the move d3 by the fish. Still, you see the bishop on g2 is paralyzed by this sacrificed pawn here, by the pawn on e4. So we have sacrifice the pawn, but just in order to create this positional mass in the white position. b5 here played by the chess engine. Knight to e5. Really stunning move. This knight is controlling now the d3 square, controls the f3 square, controls simply the whole center of the board. Really, really beautiful and powerful knight here by Stockfish 16. c5 with the check. Stockfish drops back to h7. c6, we have b takes c6, and now b6 here. Torch also sacrificed the pawn just in order to create this dangerous pawn on the b file that's supported now by the rook and queen's activity. We have queen to f6, we have b7, rook to b8, queen to b6, and now bishop to h5, improving simply the position of the piece. What should you do? If you play something like f3, then you simply further lock your light square bishop out of game. The bishop becomes now basically a tall pawn. We can continue, of course, with queen to g5, and as I said, not, I think, anymore a good continuation. There are some threats of f takes g3 attacking the knight, so it's a devastating position again here for white. So that's why after bishop to h5, here we have a rook to b2 by the chess engine, but now Stockfish had the opportunity to include the bishop in a spectacular way into the game. Bishop to e2 creates now, of course, very, very unpleasant position here for white. So we have rook from e to b1, queen to g5 anyway, for putting more pressure against white's king. We have queen to d4, queen to g4, and now rook to c1. Here the chess engine is trying somehow maybe to put more pressure against this weak pawn on c6. We have f3 by the fish. Really, really wild stuff. What should you do? If you play, for instance, bishop to f1, then the issue is after bishop to f1, king to f1, the queen is coming into the game. Look at this. You can maybe include the knight into the game, but now this one would be a stunning idea. If you pick it up here with the rook to d2, then we simply Then we simply play rook takes b7, picking up the pawn, and it's a devastating position. If you play here queen to d2, then we simply attack the queen, and you have to take it, maybe promote. But now with, for instance, knight to d3, you're getting an unpleasant check. We'll pick up here the queen, and then afterwards here, this one you have to react. You can also maybe step back, but now look at this. The attacking flow continues. We deliver a check. If you go here, then you get checkmated immediately with queen to c1. If you try, I don't know, here after king to b3, you can of course play rook to b8, and now after a couple more moves, again you will get checkmated. So you see, after f3, you cannot play bishop to f1 because you're getting rid of the key defender of the square g2. You're getting destroyed. Even if you look at this, after bishop to f1, play knight to f1, as we said, then this one is coming, and this is simply undefendable. If you play knight to e3, knight to g4 is going to happen, deflecting the knight. So many tricky ideas here for black. White is simply on the losing side. So that's why after move f3 here by the fish, the torch engine tried a counterattack with rook to c5. Stockfish continues with queen to e6. Now the bishop drops back to h1, and now Stockfish noticed that this bishop is simply out of game. And from this point on, Stockfish will play really an immortal, a crazy, spectacular endgame. Because of this bad bishop here that's locked out now, Stockfish was trying now to reach the fully endgame stages. Because this bishop can never come out again, we'll play simply g5 and then g4. So this bishop is paralyzed now through the whole game. Really cool positional idea here by Stockfish. So we have rook to e7, queen to c3, queen to f6. We have h5, h4. If you play, for instance, rook to e5, queen to e5, queen to e5, rook to e5, you can maybe pick up now this pawn on f3, but now basically black doesn't have to react. We have also some worries here with rook to c1, so still it's a messed up game. You don't gain anything, although finally this bishop can come maybe into the game, but it's not working. So that's why here after move queen to f6, we have h4, we have rook from e to b7, finally taking out this annoying pawn on b7. We have rook takes b7, rook takes b7, and now queen to e5. After queen to e5, rook takes e5, and now we first attack the knight. The knight has to step back, and now again another attack here by Stockfish against the knight. We have knight to e3, and now a beautiful idea here by the fish, d2. Simply pushing the pawn further. Stockfish sacrificed the piece, but this pawn is rolling. Here in the continuation, torch played now this one. We have rook to e8, we have rook to c1, first a check, and now rook to c3, with the threat, of course, to play rook takes e3 and then promote here to d1. That's why rook to d8, we have rook to e3. Here torch had to now pick up the pawn on d2, and now we have rook takes e4. If you play here f takes e3, for instance, in this particular position, then of course we simply promote, and then this pawn is marching. It's unstoppable in these lines. We can also play here bishop to f3. Look at this. You have to now pick up the piece, and then we promote the queen. If you, of course, don't react, if you step back to the defense of the bishop, then again we pick it up. If you go here to f1, then bishop to h1 is again simply winning the game on spot here for black. Really wild stuff. So you have to play here first rook takes d2. Here in the continuation, after rook takes d2, rook to e4 was played by Stockfish. We have rook to c2, attacking now the pawn on c6, and now Stockfish played a very important move, a brilliant move. As I said in the beginning, the goal is to play the move g4, 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 g4. Locking out further the bishop, really wild stuff. Look at this, after g5, rook takes c6, and now g4. And basically, the king and the bishop are now paralyzed. They cannot get out of this mess. You can maybe sacrifice the bishop for the pawn on f3, but you don't gain anything. Then you're running after bishop to f3, you're running also into some checkmate patterns with rook to e1, rook to h1. So now the only thing that Stockfish needs to do is somehow to include the king into the game and get it somehow here to the square e1, somehow to put more pressure against this weak pawn on f2. Let's see now how Stockfish did it. First the check by torch, couple of checks, nothing spectacular. Now after this attack, again Stockfish gets closer, bishop to c4, rook to c8, king to g7, now again bishop to e6, clearing the path for the king. Nice restriction idea here by the fish, but not allowing to get checked on the 6th rank. Now Stockfish has a clear path how to go here to the square e1. We have rook to c1, we have king to f6, rook to a1, Stockfish attacks the pawn, the king has to defend it, and now h5, simply improving now the structure here on this side of the board. We have rook to c1, king to e5, rook to d1, bishop to c4, rook to f1, and now slowly but surely the king is coming in a spectacular way into the game. Torch tried to get the rook behind, but now bishop to d3. What should you do? If you play here rook to d5 in order to attack the pawn here on h5, then we can deliver a check, and the issue is there's simply no good defense against rook to f1. You can play maybe this one, but now we pick up this one. Now we simply get this rook. You can maybe start to push the pawn, but after f2 and f1, black has a clear path, and this is game over. So you see, you don't have time to go for this pawn because the attack here around the square f2 is simply too much to handle. So that's why rook to b6 here played by Torch. We have king to d2, we have rook to b2, king to e1. You cannot deliver a check because of the bishop's activity. We have a rook to b3 attacking now the bishop, and now rook to d2. Everything is compact, everything is glued together. So what should white do? If you play here rook to b7, if you want to maybe deliver some checks from behind, then rook to f2 then here rook to f2 is simply winning the game. We have then maybe this idea to deliver a new check, but now rook to f1. First a check, we get our king here. You can also play maybe rook to h5, but now look at this, rook to d1. You have to in one moment sacrifice a piece. This piece again, this pawn has again a clear path. It's again a devastating lost game here for white. So here from move rook to d2, the Torch engine tried bishop to g2, but now Stockfish simply took this one. In the continuation, we had now bishop to f3. Even if you try, I don't know, rook to b1, then we simply take it out, so you don't have here the control, you don't have any good checks here with the rook. So after rook to f2, we have bishop takes f3, Stockfish simply took the bishop. We have rook to a3, here bishop to b1. What should you do? If you play here rook to a1, then we have this one, rook takes g3, then we get the king closer, you don't have good checks, and now after a couple of moves you get checkmated here with the move rook to h3. So that's why after bishop to b1, Torch tried this one, rook to a6, Stockfish took the pawn anyway, gets again the king closer, nothing spectacular can change, and here after a couple more moves, Stockfish simply pushed the pawn further, and after bishop to c4, it was a beautiful checkmate by the bishops and pawns activity. So great strategic game here by the fish, great endgame techniques, really locking out the light square bishop in such a brutal and spectacular way. Very wild stuff, crazy positions, but the breakthrough idea with the move e4 was, I think, the first crucial moment of the game where Stockfish paralyzed the light square bishop out of game in the first place, and then afterwards played cool tactics but also cool endgame ideas. Very beautiful, spectacular game played by Stockfish. We have to say that the Torch chess engine is a powerful chess engine. It's now probably the third best chess engine in the world, and Stockfish destroyed it with black pieces in the English opening. Really stunning stuff here by the fish. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the English opening. If you want to see more beautiful and spectacular games like this, check out our Come the Chess Games Play by Computer series. Here's the link, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say? Chess is the best, of course.